The most ironic thing about Evan Tanner's life wasn't in how he died. That in the end made hauntingly perfect sense. The most ironic thing was in how we came to know him. Every few months he'd show up in Las Vegas or some other fight venue and voluntarily lock himself in a cage. It was the only time Evan Tanner and his irrepressible spirit could be contained. Tanner's body was found about 60 miles northeast of Brawley, California, after he was reported missing while on a solo desert camping trip. Tanner was always known for his adventurous spirit. Born in Amarillo, Texas, he won 2 state championships in wrestling despite beginning the sport as a sophomore. His rise to mixed martial arts prominence was equally unlikely. With little training, he entered a local tournament and won 3 matches in one night, including one against future UFC fighter Paul Buentello. Tanner never set out to be a fighter and refused to define himself as such. He simply continued because people kept offering him money to do it, and that money fueled his journeys. He never trained full-time, only when he was offered a fight. He taught himself jiu-jitsu through books and instructional videos. He had no rankings, no belts, and no real instructors. With all of that, he was still good enough to reach the peak of the sport. He captured the UFC middleweight championship on February 5, 2005. Just shy of his 34th birthday at that time, Tanner was a decided underdog, but knocked out David Terrell in the first round to win the title. He was a self-made man in every way. He took jobs in different places doing different things, from being a dishwasher to doing construction to working at a slaughterhouse. He was a wanderer in body and spirit. He often got aboard a motorcycle or in his car and simply drove along with no real destination. He liked to surf and camp and hike. He just relocated to Oceanside, California when he began his latest adventure to burrow into the desert, which he characterized as a journey to solitude. Tanner's openness is what really endeared him to most fans. He often spoke and wrote courageously and honestly about his life. He battled issues as diverse as financial troubles, alcohol addiction, and a failed dream to build a home for at-risk young men who had an interest in becoming pro-mixed martial artists. In the end, that's what people loved about him. Whether he was fighting or living or writing, he did something few professional athletes do. He gave the fans a peek into his soul. He lived the highs and lows of life, and whether he was happy or sad or drinking or sober, he didn't hide the truth. He bled for us in the cage and with his pen. Tanner believed in and lived by the idea that one person could change the world. One time he saw a message requesting helpers to build a playground for underprivileged children. He responded simply, "Your cause is a good one, I'll be there," and promptly flew from Las Vegas to Texas on his own dime. He often carried around cards of himself which he signed and gave to children with positive messages along the lines of live well, laugh often, and love much. He was a fighter for the people, so much so in fact that when he made his comeback at UFC 82, he refused to accept corporate sponsors. In fact, he supported his training through donations from fans, which he christened Team Tanner. He wasn't your prototypical fighter. He didn't have a catchy nickname and he wasn't covered in tattoos. He hid behind nothing. He was simply Evan Tanner. I met Tanner just once, just prior to his UFC 82 comeback fight against Yushin Akami. I had the chance to interview him, and he was, as always, open and candid about his life, even though he was essentially talking to a stranger. Still, I walked away feeling as though I really knew him. He had that effect on people. Tanner had a saying that he used often, believe in the power of one. He meant it as a source of inspiration, that any one person is capable of doing anything. He may not have done everything he set out to do in life, but he tried. Trying mattered to him. The search always had meaning. The experience mattered more than the result, which could never truly be guaranteed. Evan Tanner died alone, searching for a place only he knew, and surrounded by nature in its beauty and brutality. And while it's sad for those who knew him, they can take solace in knowing that his spirit is forever free, never to be caged again.